Okay, you talk like you're going to talk, and I'll talk like I'm going to talk.
This already feels manufactured. I don't know if this is going to be like legit or how are we going to sound?
Yeah, no, it's going to be good. You're going to have a chance to hear it here because I'll let you have the headphones. Mine will sound better than yours because I got the more expensive mic, and I'm the host. But
Did you do that because of an inferiority complex that you're dealing with, or okay?
Well, just going to boost your stuff up with a bunch of technical effects and stuff. So you sound like this.
Can you use autotune so I sound like a rapper? I want to sound like one of those rap guys.
I got you.
All right. So does that sound good? You got me loud and clear?
Let's see. All right, let's get rolling on this. So you guys are listening to what is going to be, for you guys, the first episode of the Ask a Man series, but it's kind of not really the first episode. So the first episode that we did, which was so good, by the way. I mean, it was so good.
Yeah.
And you guys you're not going to be a part of that. You're not going to be able to experience the raw, the nature of that, because I really screwed up the recording on it. And I thought I could salvage it, but I couldn't. And so anyhow, we're redoing what it was to us the first episode, and will be the first episode for you guys. And we're going to be covering two questions today. One's going to be talking about millennials and dating and kind of that whole scene and how do you kind of operate in that world. The other one's going to be about emotional intelligence for your kids, teaching them how to be more emotionally intelligent. And but since this is kind of the first kickoff, and you guys don't know my friend Brandon, but you do know me, Brandon, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself and tell the world of men about yourself, but also maybe why I brought you onto this thing.
I've got no idea why you brought me onto this thing, to be honest.
Okay.
My name is Brandon McConnell. I met Mike probably, how long ago, Mike? 15 years ago?
That sounds about right.
Been a long time. You were at my wedding. That's 12 years.
I was at your wedding, but when we recorded this the first time, there was some back and forth argument about whether or not I was there. And I said I wasn't at your wedding, or I couldn't remember it. But I found out from my wife this morning that, in fact, I was at your wedding.
Yeah, I've got pictures of you and your wife at my wedding.
Yeah. Okay. So
I might not have came to the reception.
No, I think I did the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whole day's a blur for me, but whatever. People get married and they think, oh, it's going to be such a fun time. It's not. It's just a huge pain in the neck the entire day. And then you go to the honeymoon, which is actually a good time.
That's supposed to be fun.
Yeah. Oh, mine was. Anyhow. Brandon McConnell, known Mike for, we'll say, 15 years. I've been in the self-employed world. I was a real estate broker when we met. I lost my butt in 2008, 2009, just like everybody else that was functioning in that space, and became a police officer. Did that for 5.5 years. During my time there, I worked in a really pleasant little burg outside of Charlotte known as Gastonia, North Carolina. Anybody that knows the area knows that it's not pleasant. It's a crap hole.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the SWAT team. I was a sniper. Did a bunch of stuff during the Democratic National Convention. Good stuff like that. A lot of really manly stuff, masculine stuff.
Yes.
And since then, I left to work at a bank and was going insane doing that. And I am once again self-employed, selling life insurance, actually. So, I've got 3 boys and a baby girl, and I try to bring them up in the guild of aggressive masculinity. And I think it's a dying thing. Like, the masculine culture is on life support in America right now, and I think a lot of what you're doing is trying to revive that. Yep. And it's very necessary and pertinent. So that's why I'm here.
Yes, good stuff. So you got a lot of different background, experience in different things that I don't have experiences in. So this actually makes this really good, because we do come at things a lot of times the same way. But I found over the years in our conversations that you bring something to the table that I don't bring to the table, and I bring a little something that's different than you bring. So we kind of bounce off each other. And
you bring the smarts.
I bring the smarts. Yeah, and we'll go with that. So just so you guys know how this thing works. The goal here is that you guys are going to send in questions that you wish you could ask to some friend of yours, some guy, and just had this sort of this banter back and forth, get some ideas on a particular topic. But it's difficult to do because in today's day and age, we've got, we go to work, we're not supposed to talk about anything sensitive. Can't talk about political stuff. Can't talk about religious stuff. Certainly can't talk about being a man or being a woman, at least not out in the open. At least that's what we're told, right?
Everybody that ever supervised me really wishes that I agreed with you right now.
And so we kind of feel this hemmed in thing, right? We come into our homes or the door goes down. And so we don't always have an opportunity to just ask these, what I think are just basic questions. And guys, you should be shooting for this in your own relationships with the guys that you know, but not everybody has that. So it's an opportunity for Brandon and I to get together and to talk about some things. And so we're going to answer some questions for you guys and just have a little fun with it as well, but also certainly try to give you guys some solid answers to these questions. So I'm going to kick us off. The first one here comes from Mr. Miller, and this is all about millennial dating. And I'll tell you guys,
what a train wreck that is.
It is absolute train wreck. And I'll tell you guys right now that, okay, I know Mr. Miller personally. He's a friend of mine. And this guy, he's fit, he's good looking, he's smart. That he's asking me about dating tells you just how screwed up things are. Okay?
Yeah.
He's a man's man kind of guy, and he's a young guy, but he's ambitious. He's got a lot of good talent, a lot of brains, as well as brawn. And so this kind of tells you just the situation of things. Let me read what he wrote into the question here. He says, as a millennial, I feel we experience a very different dating experience than previous generations of men before us.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, chivalry and traditional manly values are not well received, sometimes even mocked. Apps like Tinder and Bumble.
Oh, you don't got Bumble, dude?
I don't Bumble.
Oh. I don't know what it is either.
Make instant gratification the norm. All you do is swipe right and boom, you're a stud. I need this Bumble thing. Apparently, this is.
I don't think your wife would approve of you having Bumble or whatever that says.
Texting is now preferred over talking. Commitment is on the downtrend. Any advice for a man trying to do the right, do the thing? Any advice for a man trying to do the thing the right way and go after what he wants in today's hookup culture? So there's the question.
Yeah.
What do you think, man?
I think that you need to not compromise on your standards. I think that don't change what you are looking for to satisfy your perception of what culture is. I think there's a lot of women out there who are kind of just going with the flow of the Tinder, Bumble, texting, don't open the door for me crap that they see going on around them because they don't want to be perceived as an outsider or something like that. But I'm telling you right now, a man like this has so much opportunity to find an absolutely amazing woman, because regardless of what our media and society would tell you, there are still traditional, wholesome, good girls out there that are looking for exactly what this guy's bringing to the table, from what I can see by reading his message. And I think you just, don't be, I'm not saying be inflexible, but, you have your core standards and your core that you're not going to compromise on, and it'll all work out. Worked out for me. I mean, you do have to do something to stand out.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think a genuine traditional outlook on life will stand out to the right girl.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think you guys got to remember this here, and this is always going to be true. Women are attracted to men. Okay. Right now,
boom,
you've got a lot of girls out there that are older, and they don't know what they're attracted to. But a woman is going to be attracted to a man. And so, part of the challenge here is that you're looking for a woman. You're not looking for a girl to date. You're looking for a lady, a woman who wants to, make things serious, right? Take things to the next level.
Stop making them babies. after marriage.
After marriage, that's right. And so the world that you're operating in terms of there being a lot of older girls, just like we operate in a world, there being a lot of older boys, in their 20s and 30s, is just, that's part of the challenge of the culture right now. And let me just back up a little bit and talk about some of the challenges that you guys are seeing as just part of where the culture is, because you got a lot of mixed messages going around that's not helpful. So it might be good for you guys to understand where millennials are and why.
We're awash in a sea of people that can't decide what freaking gender they are.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
You talk about red flags. I mean, you can't think of a bigger red flag than a culture where there's a growing percentage of the population that doesn't know who they're supposed to mate with anymore. that should be the most natural, the most basic sort of default operating mode that just exists inside of us, innate, really. And when that starts to get messed up, you think about it like if we're thinking about deer or some kind of population of wild animals, when they get confused about who to mate with, we kill off some of the females maybe to introduce more, to up the male population, or we just, we move some things around, but we know something is wrong. We don't take that seriously here as humans. But there's a couple of mixed messages that are coming across here. On one hand, you've got Instagram and maybe Tinder and Bumble. I don't know how those things work, but you got all these apps, the social media world, where women and guys are portrayed as these very sex kind of symbols, right? And they're always showing off their body. Not only that, but you've got media as well, right? So you've got the everything on TV and movies and that kind of stuff. And then at the same time, you've got women that are saying, don't objectify me. Don't look at me as an attractive person. And certainly don't try to engage with me when I'm at the office, right? So on one hand, you've got this hypersexualized view of people as objects to be desired and want to be like or be with. And then on the other hand, you've got this total turn down of, no, you're not supposed to operate in this world of sexuality in regular life. Mm. This causes a lot of problems because guys show up to work all pumped up and horny, or to church or wherever they happen to go.
You go to church pumped up and horny, bro.
Yeah. Guys show up everywhere horny. Come on.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But you show up in this world where you're looking for a mate, and then there's this culture that's saying, no, that doesn't actually happen in real life. And so it's adding a lot of confusion to the mix. And the problem is that it creates a fear in people's interactions with each other. So guys don't feel comfortable going to a lady and saying, hey, would you like to go out on a date? Because they feel like a creep, right? Or they don't know how to operate in that world of what would be considered more of a traditional male-female role.
Well, you still have to evolve a little bit, though. Like, I wouldn't go up to a girl and say, hello, would you like to go on a dinner date with me on next Friday? Sure. Something like that. You just, hey, I'm going to grab some dinner. Would you like to join me? Just, it's so little about what you say and so much about how you say it.
Yep.
When it comes to, quote unquote, trying to pick up a chick. Mm-hmm. It's 80 or 90% of human communication is nonverbal. It's the way you're standing. It's the air that you're putting out there, the tone of your voice and all that stuff. So, yes, stick to your traditional line, but I get so tired of hearing people say, oh, nice guys finish last. Mm-hmm. No, boring guys finish last. So you still have to be interesting and engaging if you want to get a higher level of woman to be interested in you, because newsflash, she's got a lot of options, regardless of how fearful we are of approaching women and stuff like that. And I want to dovetail on the what you were talking about is, don't look at me as attractive and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's even gone a step further to where you've got just these grotesque females just completely putting themselves out there. And I see these pictures and it's like, you have to accept that as beautiful and attractive and this and that. I'm like, no, that's a matter of opinion. And I'm still allowed to have my opinions and you can't tell me what to think. And as far as the fear culture goes, man, just go after that aggressively. You have to be intelligent, but if you're not doing something, you're not intending something, and somebody is telling you that you are, stand your ground. Don't cave, don't collapse, don't fold up and run away and hide because that makes you look guilty.
Yep.
You stand your ground and be like, no, that wasn't my intention. I was not trying to harass you. I was trying to get to know you. If you're not into that, that's fine. Bye. And then, I've had conversations with HR at Fortune 7 companies before. So I'm not, I've been down this road, not over specifically chasing gals at the office, but racial issues. I've had people accuse me of racism at work, and I was like, yeah. And homophobic issues. I was like, no, I'm not afraid of you at all. I'm just telling you how I feel, and I've still got First Amendment, blah blah blah. Yeah. So, and it worked out in my favor on both of them because this person was literally certifiably insane. But anyhow, rabbit trail.
I know I'm wanting to hear more of this. Everybody's like, I want to tell us about the story, but no, we can't. We can't go down there because other people may be listening. Well, there's a good chance that the people who are listening to this podcast are not.
The dude that I'm thinking of right now is not listening to this podcast 100%. Take it to the bank. So, yeah, he is a political science professor. I'm not going to go any further. Anyhow, he's a political science professor at a very, very liberal institution. And, yeah, I'm not going any further than that.
All right.
Yeah. Boom.
Boom. All right.
So hold the line, brother.
Yeah. No, good stuff. Just to kind of wrap this up, I think that everything you said is absolutely right, Brandon. I feel like we should have like a disagreement of some kind here. Like you should say something and I should go, no, that's stupid. And
Your beard looks really disheveled today and I'm offended.
Okay. That works. I kind of agree with you on that. That's probably true. But just to kind of wrap this up, what we're trying to say here, guys, is if you want to, what you're kind of looking for is an old school relationship. And it's not really that old school. Honestly, we're talking about like last generation or maybe even our generation. If you want that, you got to continue to operate in that kind of world. And you're going to find the lady that also operates in that sort of, that frame of mind, that sort of mindset. I'll tell you guys this, my business, my Rustic and Maine ring business is going really well. People are buying rings and it's guys and girls getting married. They're all pretty young. So I know people are out there getting married. These things are happening. It's just a bit more challenging in a world that's more closed off. We don't have a lot of the same traditions that we used to in terms of people just being together, interacting with one another. And, I'll also say this. Because of where society is in terms of how we think about what this life is supposed to be about, I think we sometimes try too hard to make sure we've got just the perfect fit and just the perfect match. Like we think, well, this is it, right? I got this one opportunity to live my life out, and that means I've got to have this awesome career. I've got to have this awesome family, awesome wife, awesome, bank
YOLO.
account. And all these things that we've got to have in line. Otherwise, we've just wasted this opportunity called life. But, if you're a Christian, I know not everybody listening to this is, that really should change your perception of how this whole thing works, right? This is not a one and done kind of thing. Yeah, we get an opportunity to live this life, but we also are these, infinite kind of creatures that are going to continue on way past this. So it really takes a lot of the pressure off to realize that, that you don't have to get it all right. There's probably 100 girls out there or more that you could fall in love with, have a great life with, and be happy with. Don't set such a high standard that you're missing the opportunities right in front of you.
Here's the problem most people in this generation are having is you got to pick one.
Yeah.
One. You got to pick one.
Yeah.
And stick with it.
One.
And, and I think a lot of times too, people hear like this message and they're thinking, oh, that sounds boring, or it's not boring. It doesn't have to be. My life is crazy, insane. I've got 4 kids who are the biggest test and the biggest blessing of my life. I've got an amazing wife who is the biggest test and the biggest blessing of my life. And don't expect it to be easy. Don't go into marriage thinking, oh, this is going to be easy, because that's what I did. I was like, oh, yeah, I found the perfect girl. Life is going to be so simple. Guess what? She's not perfect. She's got problems. And guess what? I'm not perfect either. And we're not going to get into who's more perfect or less perfect, but I think I lose that one every day of the week.
We settle pretty quickly. That wouldn't take us down too
every
far.
Day of the week and twice on Sunday. But yeah, don't stress it. Just be you. Do what you're going to do. Go after what you want, and don't compromise. You'll find it.
Yeah, good stuff.
And you'll have more options because you're not willing to compromise and freaking swipe left and Tinder, Google, Snappy, Facey, Chatty, Insta, whatever crap.
Yeah, we're hip. We know all that stuff.
I see it. I do Facebook. I found out that Facebook's for old men. I post pictures of my cats.
All right, moving on. Good stuff there. Good question, guys. This next question comes from Austin, and he says, how do you teach your kids about emotional intelligence? And this is good because Brandon and I have different age kids, and you just mentioned your boys, and you got a girl as well. And she's still young enough where I don't really know what her personality is, but I've experienced your boys, and they are crazy wild.
Yeah.
They really do have very dynamic and diverse kind of personalities, but they're a lot of fun to be around too. Well, I mean,
it's because you get a limited engagement.
I know. I get to come over and I watch. And I'm like, man, these kids are awesome. It's like a little circus.
Yeah.
But you have young kids. My sons are 15 and 18. So I've got one off in college. I got one still at home. And so we're at different kind of places with this experience of talking about emotional intelligence. Let's just see what are we talking about here when we say emotional intelligence? Give me your idea. What do you think that means?
There are people that perceive the world as having to fit into their structure and their framework from an emotional standpoint. I've got somebody very specific in mind when I'm saying this. And very influential guy, very, wealthy, well-to-do, but he has zero empathy. He has zero ability to see things from, I won't say zero, but very little. Me? No.
Okay.
No.
The wealthy thing should include me in there.
You're doing all right, but you're not. Anyhow, he just has no ability to see the world from another person's perspective. And I think that's a good place to start with emotional intelligence. And, man, it's just, I think it takes a willingness, first of all, to gain that emotional intelligence yourself. And I remember when I was a cop, people flip out over minor stuff and just rage and riot and just lose it. I'm not talking about somebody getting killed. I'm talking about a fender bender. I'm talking about somebody stole the mail out of my mailbox. Like simple, stupid little stuff. And people just lose their minds, come unglued, and cannot handle the situation. And that's the majority of what you deal with as a cop, honestly. I mean, you deal with your rape and robbing, stabbing, murder, and all that stuff, but the lion's share of the calls are just stuff that are so simple, so easy to deal with, that could be very easily solved by the public, and they just have no ability to do that. So I try to teach my wife and my kids and myself emotional intelligence all the time. If you respond to a situation with, I feel like blah, 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 you're probably not being terribly emotionally intelligent.
Right.
If you're upset over something because you feel like, now, if I said somebody just slapped my 6-year-old son, I'm not going to talk about my feelings. That's a fact. That's something that just happened.
Yeah.
But I feel like my kids are disrespecting me, or I feel like my wife, you got to kind of cut through the feelings and get to the facts. Emotions are useful. You can use them to make yourself do a lot of things that you don't really want to do that are good for you. But emotions can also force you to do really dumb stuff, especially in the heat of the moment, and especially, stuff that has consequences.
Yeah. No, that's good. So it's interesting that you came at it from a little bit of an empathy kind of perspective of recognizing what other people are feeling, but I think that also...
But also telling them to get the heck over it.
Get over it. Yeah.
Suck it up.
But there's also the aspect of our internal regulator, right? So both of my kids were on the autism spectrum. I guess they still are. I don't know how that really works. I have Asperger's to some degree as well. But we kind of dealt with stuff earlier on in life that wouldn't be so apparent now. But there was a lot of trying to teach them about their internal regulator, their own, what's going on inside that's making you, act in a certain kind of way. And so kind of preventing the next generation of fender bender, riot, raging.
Fender bender, flip out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so a lot of that for me is, especially when the kids were young, was trying to say, okay, what are you feeling right now? What's kind of fueling that? So they can really have a gauge on why they feel the way they feel and how to control that. And ultimately that's really I'm trying to get them to a more of a stoic kind of mindset where something can occur, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to respond in a certain way. It doesn't have to be because something happened, I responded a certain way. A lot of times we'll hear people say, I get so angry when you do that, or it drives me crazy when you do this or that, or that person makes me so mad when they do X, Y, or Z. And I want to say, no, that's not how it works. The way to say that properly is when X, Y, or Z happens, I allow it to make me angry.
Boom.
And, getting that across to your kids is kind of a challenge. Definitely some kids are going to be more perceptive. I don't know if that's not the right word. They're going to take that in a lot easier.
Receptive?
Receptive, maybe. That's right. There's receptiveness to the kids.
It's not deceptive.
No, it's not deceptive. Some kids are going to be more receptive to that than others, and so they're going to be able to just make that connection there. That they actually have a responsibility for how they act based on whatever the situation is. But it's getting them to understand and become aware of their own that sort of internal the internal regulator there, and to be able to kind of calm themselves down and to maybe look at things from other people's perspective. What are some ways that you use, like with your kids, they're still pretty young, to do that? Do you read any books? Is it just more like in the moment type of stuff, or what?
Mostly in the moment type of stuff. One of the things that I don't want to come across as like I'm not emotional. I'm a very emotional person, and I've made a lot of really stupid decisions based on my emotions. I don't want to come across as like this holier than thou guy. The thing I tell myself is to acknowledge your emotions, understand where they're coming from, but don't make decisions based on those emotions.
Yeah.
Make your decisions based on facts. Deal with your emotions, acknowledge them, all that stuff. And that's what I tell my kids too. Like I've got one kid who is exactly like me. I know what he's thinking before he thinks it. I know what he's going to say before he says it. I've got another kid who he's laid back until he absolutely flips out, and he's got the worst temper that I've ever seen on a kid. It takes a long time and a lot to get him to go there, but just the rage that I've seen in this, and he's 8. I'm like, what's that going to be like in 10 years? Holy crap, we got to get this under control. And then I've got my third son. He is the most happy-go-lucky, goofy, silly, crazy, wild performer, just, always happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then Samara, I don't know what she's going to be like. I think she's going to be, I don't know. I'm scared to find out, to be honest. So anyhow, you just have to, books are a good resource, but I think all my kids have attention issues, and getting them to pay attention for a book with a lot of words that's not telling a good story is going to be really hard. So I get the information myself. I do what makes sense. And, there's a lot of wisdom in the Bible on this stuff.
Yep.
And just go from there. I think it's just a willingness to coach your kids, a willingness to look at your kids from the perspective of I'm not raising children. I'm raising men and a woman. Mm-hmm. Like that's the angle that I approach everything from. When my kids get hurt, if it's not bad, if there's not blood, they want to go to that emotional place. I'm like, no, suck it up. You're okay. Walk it off. Go rub it. Rub some dirt on it. Whatever you got to do. And then let's keep loading firewood, or let's keep doing whatever we were doing when you got injured. And, maybe think about what you did that caused you to get hurt. Not a lack of compassion. If it was a broken bone, blood gushing, my kids have had so many concussions this year. I don't know what's going on, but like Reeve, my youngest son, has had 2 concussions this year. Silas has had 1, I think. So, and I take those things seriously. But after the first trip to the emergency room, where they said, "Yeah, just watch him and make him rest," I'm like, okay, we could probably just watch him and make him rest, and it's going to be okay.
Right.
I'm not giving medical advice, but just not getting sucked into your emotions, because my wife, God bless her, is very emotional, and she tends to make decisions based on her emotions. Mm-hmm. And that is very counterproductive, especially when you're dealing with children. Like, I remember, I'm all over the place, but I remember when I was a police officer, these people who are hyper emotional over silly things, I never took them seriously. I'm like, okay, you can come back and talk to me when you calm down.
Yeah.
And I kind of go at my wife with the same MO of like, all right, when you calm down, we can discuss this. But until then, I'm going over here to do something else. And that's probably a really crappy perspective for a husband to have, but that's just how I operate. I'm all about getting problem solved in the most efficient manner possible. And reacting in a hyper emotional way to things is not efficient at all.
Yep. And I think a lot of this comes down to a willingness to parent in the moment, because a lot of times we've got other things going on. I'm cooking dinner, or I'm working on work or something like that. The kids have some kind of emotional reaction to each other or something that happened. And the sort of the default mode, at least my default mode, would be, hey, I don't want to deal with this right now. What's the quickest, thing that I can do for you that just puts this to rest, right? Go play with your toys, or go watch a TV show, or go whatever the case is. Instead of taking the time in the moment and say, hey, let's talk about this, about what's going on, and give them those kind of emotional cues. There are a couple of books that we've read that were helpful for our kids, and I'm going to butcher all the names here. And when you guys listen to this podcast,
just check the notes.
Just check the notes, because I'll have it all out there. I didn't do my prep work as I should have, even though this is the second time I did this. This is I'm kind of going down a different trail with this question or this answer here. But one of the books that we read with our kids came out fairly recently. It's called The Asper Kids Secret Guide to Social Rules, or something like that. If you guys have kids that are anywhere on the spectrum of Asperger's, it's really helpful. It's written by a lady here in Charlotte, actually, but she has Asperger's, didn't find out about it until a little bit later in life. And then the thing about people who have Asperger's, we do have sort of this matrix of rules, that the things that wouldn't normally make sense for us that we kind of put into place. And so it can be really helpful. It's not necessarily, there is a bit of an emotional intelligence aspect to it, because there's understanding other people's emotional reactions and then your own emotional reactions when you kind of screw things up, as we sometimes do.
And the people that love you have to figure out how you tick as well, too.
Right.
Like what makes you, somebody cutting you off in the middle of a sentence might drive you absolutely insane.
That drives me crazy. So I'll give you guys an example, just kind of a funny aside here. I don't know why we say bless you when people sneeze, and it drives me crazy to do it.
Me and my wife have more fights about this than any, she's like, you didn't say bless you. I'm like, yeah, and I'm not gonna.
Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense. I was like, one, I'm not blessing you, and I don't think there's some kind of spirit escaping from you, or whatever the case is. And obviously, if I say it, it's just kind of trite. Like, I don't think about it. And so it's like you make a crazy noise by a sneeze, and I'm going to make basically another just noise that's useless.
Yeah. Well, you didn't say bless you.
It doesn't make it. Yeah, and it's not like a sneeze is really a thing worthy of blessing anyhow. Who cares? It's just it's a thing that happens. But then I feel like get the guilt trip by not, like you said, by not saying it.
So I want to go down a little bit of a rabbit trail, because you just made me think of something, and we'll get back to what you were talking about. Stuff like that drives me crazy. Like, we do things just because other people do them. Well, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of my wife has some kind of like fancy friends, and they'll do this thing where when they're greeting you, they put their cheek up to your cheek, and then they kiss the air next to your ear.
Wait, they do this?
Yeah.
Where are they from?
The one husband is from Ecuador, and the other one's from Puerto Rico and Ecuador. So I think it might be a Hispanic thing, but and then the one wife is white as the driven snow, and then the other wife is from Jordan. Okay. So there's probably a whole bunch of culture at work there that I just
in the
don't
world people fake kiss each other.
Yeah, but they do this thing where they put the cheek up against your cheek and they kiss the air right beside your ear. And I'm like, I don't do that. I don't want to. I'll shake your hand and I'll give your wife like a little side hug, maybe, if I like her. If I don't, then probably nothing. But yeah, and then like with my mother-in-law, she gets really offended if I don't get up to greet her when she comes to my house. And I'm like, I said hi. I'm sitting over here doing something with the kid, like get up, full on hug, greeting, and I'm like, that I'm not that formal. Yeah. So anyhow, I don't know what made me think of that, but
there's people doing stuff that just because that's
do stuff because other people are doing it. I don't do that. I don't like that. I'm not. Have I ever kissed the air next to your ear?
Not that I can remember.
I think our beards would get tangled together. We'd be stuck.
That'd be a really
have to call the fire department.
Yeah.
How do you explain that?
We'd be on the news for that for sure.
Yeah.
We should try that though after this podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
Braiding our beards together? I'm good, bro. Anyhow, I'm sorry I cut you off there, but
no, it's fine. So am I coughing? So I think that's pretty much it. I mean, as far as teaching your kids emotional intelligence, there's like I said, there's a few other books that we read. They're really small story kind of things that basically almost like an Aesop's fable. I don't even know if I'm saying that right because I'm uneducated.
That's the way I've always heard it.
Maybe it's Aesop, but
I think it's Aesop.
But either way, it's those kinds of things. They're a little bit more homey, kind of down to earth sort of things where kids get a chance to see other people in situations, and sort of these very small stories. And then there's always, a moral kind of component to that as well. That can be really good to help kids walk out those things, looking at other people's. And that's actually, that's a really good place to kind of cap this off. And instead of just talking to your kids about their own issues, use other people's, especially if they have siblings, the events in other people's lives as an example. You know, what would you have done in this situation? Because usually we can answer that from kind of a third party perspective much easier than we can when we're kind of mixed up in the whole thing. And so, and then when they do the same thing, you can say, hey, remember when your brother did this? What
Didn't he look stupid?
Yeah. What was your advice to him? Well, take your own advice, right? And that kind of becomes sort of full circle there.
And just like everything, if you're not living it yourself, you have no credibility. So you have to be managing your emotions first and foremost.
Yep.
And then you can teach.
Yep.
And I think that's important because there's enough hypocrisy in the world. Let's try to kill some of that.
Yep. That's good. All right, guys, well, we're wrapping this up. You guys can send questions to me, and I'll forward them to Brandon by heading over to wolfandiron.com/askaman. So just come up with anything, any questions that you guys have for us. It could be about sort of practical things. It can be about some, I'd love to have big discussions about like religion, stuff that's going on in the world, political stuff. It doesn't really matter. Just, stuff that you would want to have a conversation with another guy, and send those to me. And we'll try to get those on the docket to be answered. That's all I got.
Yeah, I want to propose a topic.
Okay.
It's something that's a little bit taboo that a lot of guys probably need to be looking into, but people are afraid to talk about is testosterone replacement therapy.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I like that.
It just seems like one of those things that's like, oh, I don't know who to ask. I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah.
Well, yeah, that's something.
We could get into my July 1st story if we go down that road.
That would be one for the that would be a really good one, actually. That'd probably get a lot of downloads. And
I think there's people clamoring for information on this stuff because there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and just the way we live our lives, our diets, our activity, our culture, it's killing your gonads, guys.
Yeah. No, absolutely agree. There are other things that kill your gonads too.
Well, yeah. Explosives,
things like that. All right. So no, that's great. We'll put that on the docket and we'll get to answering that one.
I'm going to submit a question.
You're going to submit a question. Yeah. Just go to the website and make sure it works.
This is Bob Glass.
All right, guys. That's all we got for today. Take care.
These are attempts, I sound like a rapper. Sound like one of those rap guys. Does that sound good? You got me, Bob Nuclear. These are rapper. Sound like one of those rap guys. Does that sound good? You got me, Bob Nuclear. These are attempts, I sound like a rapper. Sound like one of those rap guys. Does that sound good? You got me.